I made a promise that I was done with this life. It's not what it looks like.
This week in game news, Miitomo passed 10 million users, the Nintendo NX received a release window of March 2017, The Legend of Zelda for Wii U was delayed to 2017, and Nintendo announced that it's currently in development for the NX as well. Hidetaka Miyazaki, director of the Dark Souls franchise, said in an interview with GNN Gamer that he's done with the franchise for at least 5 years. The 6.87 update hit Dota 2 and brought some pretty big changes, and we're back from PAX East 2016. We'll be showing you some of the coolest stuff that we saw out on the show floor. This is the Blackman and Robin Game News Update. The music in today's episode was provided by Cement City. You can check out more of his stuff at soundcloud.com/cementcity-1. First off, Blizzard has officially released a statement regarding classic servers. In case you missed the news, not too long ago, Blizzard ordered the shutdown of the community-run Nostalrius servers, which ran an old version of World of Warcraft. Some players prefer it, and the only way to play an old version of World of Warcraft is through a pirate server. There's no legal way to relive those glory days, even if you purchased an old copy of the game. What Blizzard has finally said is that they're listening to their fans, and that they had to shut down the Nostalrius servers because there was no clear legal path to grant an operating license to a pirate server. The Nostalrius servers, mind you, served over 1 million players, so the backlash Blizzard has received over this matter has been immense. Blizzard says that they've been looking into opening official classic servers, but they also claim that there are no options that could be executed for this without great difficulty, which raises some serious questions as to how a few pirates doing this as a hobby managed to pull off what a multi-billion-dollar company won't. I'm not a World of Warcraft player, and I'm not upset at Blizzard for demanding the shutdown of Nostalrius, because legally, it was the only thing they could have done. The lack of a path to legalization isn't the fault of Blizzard. It's worth remembering that their parent company, Activision, likely has final say in such legal matters, and it's probably the higher-ups who are deciding that the cost of operating a proper classic server just isn't worthwhile, in spite of all the good faith it would buy Blizzard with fans. Not when there are so many other things that can be monetized. What do you think? Is Blizzard resisting the push for classic servers because of pressure from higher-ups at the company, or are there some serious technical hurdles for them to jump over? Hit us up on Twitter at Blackman and Robin and let us know. The Kickstarter is now live for Blackroom, the new FPS that's coming from John Romero and Adrian Carmack. In case you're new to the world of video games, you should know that Romero and Carmack worked together at id Software a long time ago, where they made Doom, the game that as good as defined the modern first-person shooter. Regarding their new project Blackroom, it's set in a future in which augmented reality has become good enough to be dangerous, and starts leaking over into reality. As you may guess, it's your job to fix it by blowing stuff up. You may wind up in a sci-fi game, or a fantasy game, or a horror game, or really whatever simulation happens to be breaking into reality on any given day. The game is set to be released winter of 2018 for Mac and Windows. I'm a little bit disappointed that there isn't a Kickstarter tier to receive the game distributed across several thousand floppy disks, but I suspect that'd be a pretty difficult reward to deliver on. If you're a developer considering virtual reality, you may want to take a look at what HTC is doing. The company's launching a $100 million VR accelerator called Vive X. It's a program that's meant to expand the market and ecosystem for virtual reality by fostering VR education and mentorship. There's a bit more information about this program at htcvive.com. Check it out if you're interested in getting better at making things in VR. There's not very much information about it available online, but you can apply to join the Vive X program in Taipei, Beijing, or San Francisco. It's really meant for people who are serious about getting into virtual reality game development. In game releases this week, Mojang released a free game on Steam called Crown and Council. It's a fast-paced strategy game that draws comparisons to Risk and Age of Empires, albeit in miniature form. It's a simple game about taking control of territories. The players thus far seem to like it, though there have been some complaints regarding the game's controls, as well as its use of RNG, or random number generation. Basically, sometimes the game is random and it causes you trouble. Still, it's free on Steam, so you may want to give it a shot. If you're in the mood for some mining, Junkjack was released on Steam Early Access this week. The game was originally released on iOS, and it's a lot like Terraria. It's a 2D open-world platformer in which you excavate, explore, collect treasures, build structures, craft things, that sort of game. To be honest, I'm having a hard time telling it apart from Terraria, though I have heard that it does have a few differentiating features. For instance, you can breed farm animals, and in some respects, it really plays a lot more like Minecraft than Terraria. If you've been in the market for another sort of crafty, explory game, I'd recommend checking it out. A virtual reality edition of Minecraft was released on the Samsung Gear VR this week. It's essentially Pocket Edition, but for VR headsets. It boasts all the features of that version of the game, but what sets it apart is that it's meant to be used with Samsung's virtual reality headset, the Gear VR, as you may have guessed from the title. Right now, the Gear VR is only compatible with Samsung devices, officially, but if you own one, it's worth picking up the support of Minecraft. The version of Minecraft for the Oculus Rift, that is, for desktop headsets, is still on track to be released sometime this year. Strategy card/board game Duelist left beta this week for a full release. The game plays a bit like Scrolls in some respects, but it's also designed with very short games in mind. 8 minutes, to be specific. In fact, I played the game a while back in beta and must say that I enjoyed it. The fast matches were fun and the learning curves not too steep. Also, I must say that Duelist has a really cool look to it. Your units are cute little pixel art creatures on the game board, and the music in Duelist is surprisingly good. Not to say that I walked into the game with no expectations for the music, but I wasn't expecting to be so blown away as I was. It has some pretty distinct tunes going for it. Duelist is free to play and available for Mac and Windows. That wasn't the only card game to get a big release this week, however. Blizzard's Hearthstone received a massive update that brought some balance changes as well as a huge expansion called Whispers of the Old Gods to the game. It introduces some Lovecraftian elements to Hearthstone. There's a minion called Cthulhu that's constantly being buffed throughout the match when certain cards are played. Once he surfaces, his battle cry deals a ton of damage. There are a whole bunch of other new cards that have been added to the mix, so if you've been away from Hearthstone for a while, you may want to give this one a shot as it really shakes up the meta. If rock climbing is more your thing, rest assured we have you covered. The Climb was released on the Oculus Rift this week. It's a beautiful and a little bit scary game about climbing mountains in virtual reality. Essentially, you have these two disembodied hands, and you're using them to reach from handhold to handhold as you climb a mountain. While it's mostly a single-player experience, there are some multiplayer aspects to the game. Right now, the game's not quite perfect. There are some issues with playing a rock climbing simulator in virtual reality. For one, you're wearing a heavy headset on your head, and you're staring up. This has led to some reviewers suffering from cramps. Additionally, the game is set to support the Oculus Touch, that is Oculus VR's motion controller, which is really perfect for this sort of game, but seeing as the Touch isn't out yet, you have to play the game with an Xbox One controller, which works, but isn't quite as immersive an experience as it could be with the Oculus Touch. So you might want to pick this game up, but you might also want to hold off until you have the Oculus Touch controllers in your hands. If you're looking for a good bargain on some great games, might I recommend checking out the current Humble Bundle? Now live on HumbleBundle.com is the Humble Friends of Nintendo Bundle. If you pay $1 for it, that'll net you Retro City Rampage DX, which is basically what GTA would have been like on the NES. Affordable Space Adventures, a sort of stealth puzzle game in which you have a spaceship and, using the Wii U tablet controller, you take control of its inner workings to keep it running smoothly, and of course to keep yourself alive. That game has co-op, and it's well worth checking out. There's also Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, one of the latest entries in the beloved platformer series. If you beat the average price paid, you'll also get Freedom Planet, a platformer that's been described as the best Sonic game in recent years, in spite of not actually featuring Sonic the Hedgehog, Rhythm Thief and The Emperor's Treasure, a rhythm game in which you play as an art thief, and Citizens of Earth, a bizarre comedy RPG in which you play as the Vice President of the planet Earth, and you have a lot of enemies. It's like Earthbound, but a little less weird. Finally, if you drop $13 or more, you'll get Super Street Fighter 4, 3D Edition, and Darksiders 2. Some of these games are for the Wii U, while some are for the 3DS. Citizens of Earth offers you the choice of either the 3DS or Wii U version. Personally, I recommend getting the Wii U version because while I have played the PC version of the game, I heard that the 3DS version has some technical issues. Next week, more games will be added to the Beat the Average tier, so if you're on the fence about this bundle, you might want to hold off on buying it until then. And now for a brief word from our sponsor.
Here's a dirty little secret. When you wash your face at the end of the day, you might only be cleaning the surface of your skin. To clear those congested pores, you need a deep clean. And today, you can get it with Proactive's incredible deep cleansing brush. And here's something even more incredible. You get the brush free when you order a Proactive system today.
I love the deep cleansing brush because it really gets in those pores.
I was using a brush that was over $200, and I like this so much better.
This isn't just any brush. This is the only one from the doctors at Proactive, so it's specially designed for acne-prone skin. Call the number on your screen now to get America's #1 acne brand for just $19.95. Be among the first 500 callers, and you'll also get the deep cleansing brush free, plus more secrets for flawless skin. That's a $93 value for just $19.95.
You only have 2 hands, but you have a whole lot of bristles.
This is such an incredible offer that supplies are limited. Call the number on your screen now.
So, we attended PAX East this year, and we had an awesome time. There was a lot of cool stuff to see in and around Boston during the show. Want to ride this fancy Overwatch-themed Uber Lamborghini? Well, you had the chance to do that at PAX East this year. This video comes courtesy of @Tatiana King and @FanBros Show on Twitter. So in case you've not heard of it, what exactly is PAX East? This should break it down. So, we're here in beautiful Boston for PAX East 2016, and we are surrounded by thousands upon thousands of gamers. First held in March of 2010, PAX East has grown tremendously over the years. The first PAX, or Penny Arcade Expo, was held in 2004 in Bellevue, Washington. It was created by Jerry Holkins and Mike Kraulick, the creators of the Penny Arcade webcomic, out of their desire to have a proper gaming convention. From humble beginnings came what are now the hottest gaming events in the United States of America. For a bit of perspective, the first PAX in Washington was attended by 3,300 people. Eventually the numbers grew, and in 2009, PAX on the West Coast, that is PAX Prime, held in Seattle every year, had over 60,000 attendees. That's 20 times bigger than its first PAX. PAX Prime in Washington and PAX East in Boston aren't the only Penny Arcade Expos. There's also PAX South in Texas and PAX Aus, which is held in Australia each year. That these shows, which are a celebration of games and gamers of all sorts, are so successful really says something about how passionate the gaming community really is. I mean, though the show makes a lot of money for its organizers, venues, and for the businesses involved, the people who are dressed as enforcers, that is, those people in those fancy red t-shirts you see running around, they're all volunteers. So they're the people who make sure that everything goes smoothly during the show. So what drives these people to become enforcers? Well, to find out, we asked. So I'd like to ask, what made you want to be an enforcer?
Is it running? Sorry. I wanted to help run the show because I saw how people enjoy running it, and I figured I might as well be part of the process of getting it to run well and smoothly.
Very cool. So now how long have you been attending PAX?
2 years longer than I've been an enforcer, so this will be my 7th year actually attending PAX.
Wow, that is a long time. So now, enforcers are volunteers. So now, even though you're volunteering, do you still get to enjoy the show?
Yeah, generally so. We get into the show. If you're on the expo hall floor, you're pretty much dedicated to your specific people for the entirety of the show. So we see very little of the actual show, but most enforcers get to see at least part of the show.
Very cool. Well, it's been very nice chatting with you, Mr. Enforcer, sir. Hope you have a lovely PAX. PAX draws a pretty diverse crowd. Sure, there are the cosplayers here, and they show up to every event dressed up. And then there are the tabletop gamers who play board games, old-fashioned dice-rolling RPGs, and card games. Then, too, there are the people who come to PAX to attend panels. I would say that I fall into that category. There are panels on every subject, ranging from how to better write stories for your video games, to how to run an RPG campaign, to how psychology and video games intersect. And yes, there's even a panel on the history of EVE Online. And no, I don't mean the history of the development of EVE Online, I mean the history of the politics within EVE Online. Then of course, there are also the people out on the show floor, either showing off games or checking them out. PAX East is so loved because it has something for everybody. It seems that it'll stay loved for a long time, as the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center, where the show is held every year, has a deal to keep the show running here until the year 2023. It's a big show with a lot of variety. If you're a gamer on the East Coast, you absolutely should check out PAX East. If you want a window into gaming culture, attend a PAX East at least once in your life. It'll give you a good cross-section of the sort of people who play all sorts of games. So, because there's a little something for everybody here at PAX East, expect us to show you a little bit of everything. This is Blackman and Robin at PAX East. During PAX East, the very first game that I went hands-on with was the brand new Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Now, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a sort of prequel to the original Mirror's Edge. In case you've not heard of it, it's a first-person adventure, a parkour game set in a dystopic city called the City of Glass. You play as a young woman named Faith. Now, Faith is a runner. She's part of a group that breaks the law by delivering subversive political messages of hope and occasionally does other less-than-legal things. As a big fan of the original Mirror's Edge, I walked into the Mirror's Edge Catalyst demo with high hopes, and I must say that I was not disappointed. This new game has a different control scheme which in a lot of ways feels like an improvement on the original Mirror's Edge, and it also has something of an RPG-like progression system for unlocking moves. So let's say you want to execute the quick turn, you need to level up first before you can actually unlock the quick turn ability. Now this might sound kind of lame if you are a veteran Mirror's Edge player like myself. However, after what I played at PAX, I can honestly say that I like the RPG-style progression system. The reason for this is because early on in the original Mirror's Edge, the tutorial dumped a whole lot of stuff on you. I wound up forgetting half of the moves that the tutorial showed me. The idea is that in Catalyst, having to unlock these moves is going to make them more valuable, and thus easier to remember. This new game also has an open-world design. It's a freedom that falls somewhere between Batman Arkham City and the original Legend of Zelda. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is coming out later this year for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. Another game that I got to play out on the show floor was one that I've loved for a while, called Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla is a 2D action game that plays a bit like Smash Bros. Your goal is to toss your opponents over the edge of the arena. I had the chance to demo the new weapons that are coming to Brawlhalla, the gauntlets. They felt pretty interesting. Something about them was a little bit like Queen Nai's main hand weapons, if you know what I'm talking about, because regrettably I cannot remember the name of those weird little drill things that she puts over her hands. But they were a very quick weapon to use, and I'm looking forward to trying them out when they're released with a new, as of yet unannounced character for Brawlhalla. The game from PAX East that had me the most excited was definitely Pyre. Currently in development by Supergiant Games, the studio behind Bastion and Transistor, Pyre is a sort of fantasy RPG / sports game. It's kind of weird. You have a party of characters that you chat with, kind of like in Fire Emblem, and you're all on a journey through what's called the Downside, some sort of purgatory for political prisoners. Everybody in the Downside is some sort of exile. It seems that you've been exiled for the crime of literacy. Being able to read is apparently strange in this world. In order to escape the Downside, the characters who you've partied up with must go through what's called the Rites. Now, these rites are a strange sort of sports game in which a glowing orb must be delivered from one end of an arena to the other. Think of it as soccer with dire consequences. After playing the game's demo, I got to chat with Amir Rao, the designer of Pyre, and I found out some interesting things about the game and where it's heading. But wait, there's more. I also got to interview Paul Pera, one of the developers of Astroneer, and then of course I got to try out the game. Now Astroneer, in case you haven't heard of it, we covered it a few months ago, it's this upcoming space exploration game in which you play as an astronaut living in an age in which space exploration has become cheap and easy, and so a whole bunch of corporations are now reaching to the stars for profits. As an astroneer, you get to explore strange and beautiful worlds, dig for treasure, and of course try to survive. Also, you can go planet hopping. That's awesome. Overall, I had an awesome time at PAX East 2016. I saw and played a ton of cool games, got to talk with the creators of these games, and I got a look behind the scenes of an industry that I report on every day. If you enjoy video games, do yourself a favor and check out PAX East at least once in your life.
So I'm here at PAX East 2016 and I'm chatting with Ichiro Lambe, who, surprise, we weren't expecting to see. So Mr. Lambe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Excellent. So this PAX, you don't have anything to show off, but you still got games you're working on.
Yeah, we are completely in stealth mode, indie stealth mode right now, so we're working on 2 titles. One is called Singularity Starship, which is an RPG where you play an artificial intelligence that visits various inhabited planets, infiltrates them, and changes their societies. And the other one is called TikTok Bang Bang, which is a first-person shooter where you play a stunt woman with the ability to slow time. So you're in these gunfights and shooting action movie scenes for a blockbuster, and you're in a gunfight and you have hundreds of automobiles coming at you, sort of like a 100 car pileup, and you're slowing time and dodging them and saving the day.
Very cool. Now, regarding your first game that you mentioned, but Singularity, it sounds a little bit like Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie, the book.
Ooh, interesting, yeah. I describe it to sci-fi fans as Star Trek The Next Generation meets Quantum Leap, where you're violating the crap out of the Prime Directive. But yeah, I would say I will take the comparison.
That sounds very cool. And now, regarding your other game, what would you say inspired that?
Well, what we basically did was I spent 9 months working on Singularity Starship, and I said, man, I need a break. So I took our earlier title, Drunken Robot Pornography, which, as you know, is a bullet hell first-person shooter, and I had just played Super Hot, so I'm like, wow, let's play around with some time mechanics. So I figured that interesting mechanic of stopping time, we could expand on that and do some really interesting stuff there.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. So now when can we expect to see these games?
Oh my gosh, so you're the first person that I've told this to. I think TikTok Bang Bang may be in early access as early as next week.
Wow, that's soon. Okay. Very nice. Now, so let's say the folks at home want to find out more about this game once you're actually releasing info. Where can they go?
Well, you can go to Steam or Dejoban.com, DEJOBAAN.
Most excellent. Now, if they want to follow you on Twitter, where can they go?
Well, they go to @Dejoban.
Excellent. You heard it here first, folks. Dejoban's next games are sounding very, very exciting. Mr. Lambe, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again.
Thank you.
Enjoy your PAX.
You too.